Hey there. Can you hear me, Andy? Just want to make sure that I'm all set up. Excellent. Thank you. Awesome. I saw your post on Citrix channel. Yep, so we are all set. Okay, that's great to know. Are you doing internship right now or you applied and awaiting results? Okay. Yeah, when I was in school back in India, I was doing internship at the same time as well. I think here, yeah, some schools have the same model and some do differently. Okay, that's great. Let me also try out playing my slideshow, and if you can be my guinea pig to tell me if everything is set up. Are you able to see my, oh, I think I didn't share my screen. Let me do that. Let me move this ShellHacks to a different screen. And you let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, awesome. So all set up. I'll re-enable it back once we have enough people and the time is right. Yeah, let's wait for some more people join in. I see count of 8 or 9 right now. I think that's the right number of people who have joined us. I'm not sure. At the top, I see 9. I believe that's the count of folks who have joined. I may be wrong. Hey, Mohammed, how are you? Hey there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magic Show. We're going to start in a couple of minutes. It's just about the time. We'll just get going. I think let's give another minute or so for others to join. I see the count starting to pump up, so that's good. Let me share my screen as well. Another few seconds, we'll get going in the interest of time. All right, I think we'll get going. So, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Uh, uh, I would like to start by saying, some magic words: abracadabra, Citrix microapp, abracadabra, Citrix microapp. Well, this is a different kind of magic show you would not have seen before or heard before for mainly two reasons. I think number one, this is a real magic show. It's not based on any illusions or tricks. And secondly, it's free, right? So I am Manvinder Pal Singh from Citrix. I'm your Magic Show host. And today we'll be creating apps with no code. Yes. So I work in Citrix and I'm in virtualization and cloud computing group. And we work on cloud services. And I'm also an innovation leader doing a lot of innovation in emerging technologies and other areas. So don't want to bore you with some history and other technical stuff, but I thought I'll share some fun facts about myself. I use this hashtag RocketSing on Twitter, LinkedIn, uh, And this all started way back in I think 2019 when I was carrying a backpack of a rocket, which you can see uh, for 3 days in an industry event. And since then, people started calling me Rocket Man or Rocket Sync. Yeah, so some fun facts. I met Bill Gates after winning a global contest while I was in Microsoft. And since COVID-19, I have done a lot of innovation, submitted over 100 invention disclosures, patents. And last quarter, I took a challenge to do like 30 ideas, invention disclosures in 30 days. And then I took 2 days rest as I completed that in 28 days. I'm also fortunate to be among a team who has consecutively won 14 hackathons here at Citrix. Uh, and if you know, Red Bull gives wings, and you may not be able to fly, but I give swings to ideas, and those ideas may fly. Uh, and I also run 10K every day. I have done that for 194 days now. And I also do a lot of music. I'm passionate about that. So Tumbi Beat Breaker Singh is my musical name, and I play a one-string instrument which you can see here called Tumbi. It's an instrument from India, and I have a YouTube channel with 12K fans. And another fun fact is, I might forget my toothbrush when I go on a trip, but I'll definitely have my Tumbi with me. So having said that, let's look into brief agenda for the Microapp Magic Show. So we'll look into why we need this magic to create apps with no code, morph an elephant into a cheetah, turn copper into gold, mint time, and teleporting magic. If you're wondering this doesn't make sense, then you're right. After all, magic doesn't make sense until it is seen or done. So we'll figure out what these magic show items are. So starting with why this magic, why micro apps? So if we see the last few decades of trends on how technologies influencing our lives and how we work, we have seen it has tremendously enabled productivity. However, last few decades, the productivity has taken a downward trend. There is a productivity gap, even though we have lots of apps empowered by technology, cloud computing, mobile apps, still we are losing on productivity. A lot of app sprawl is happening where apps are becoming more complex. There are too many of them, and there's a lot of distraction and interruptions, right? So, and we end up with very little usage of those apps and searching around for a lot of information and very little focus on the job which needs to be done, right? So this is where Microapp from Citrix comes into play, which enables productivity by making you accomplish that simple task with a simple click and bringing that information to you in a seamless way and without requiring you to launch the actual application. We'll see a lot of demos of micro apps, so it'll all start making sense. And those micro apps basically can appear in your integrated feeds and notifications with clear set of actions and then powered by AI in the backend. So this is a very simple snapshot of a Citrix Workspace app where we can see a lot of notifications, and some of those notifications also have actions, and there are also actions which can be triggered right away. So these notifications and actions can come from a number of apps, and one doesn't have to launch any of those apps. One can act on these actions or notifications right within your Workspace app. And this is a brief show of key components which are involved to make that happen. So on the left hand side, we have system of record. which is nothing but a web SaaS app. And in the middle, we have the Microapp Citrix Workspace platform, where we create that integration which can talk to this web SaaS app or system of record app, and it creates and maintains this data cache. And those notifications and actions which we saw in the previous snapshot, those are created using Microapp Builder, which lets admin create these simple pages, notifications, and what it should look like. And on the right hand side is the user experience while a user interacts with Citrix Workspace app. So a simple data flow will look something like this, where a user logs into Citrix Workspace app, and he gets to see different actions, different notifications, and this blue dotted line is a set of actions which a user may trigger, and those actions may trigger further actions via this integration into the actual web SaaS app. So let's jump into our first magic show, which is morphing an elephant into a cheetah. So how can we make an elephant run fast like cheetah? Well, an obvious answer could be put an ant in elephant's trunk and it'll start running fast. Well, yes, that may work for an elephant, but what about a web SaaS app? How can we make that faster? And this is where we'll see how Citrix microapps make an app become a modern app, and we can create microapp from that app. So let me switch to uh, my console here. Here I'm logged into Citrix Workspace platform, and we are going to create a simple micro app. And I want to start with a very simple one, which is basically, uh, this patents view web app. It has API using which one can list various patents. And we are going to create a simple micro app for that. So as you can see here, these APIs, these have this base API URL, which is API patents view. So I'm going to start here, create a new integration, and we have a couple of options here. We're going to create a fresh HTTP integration. So let's name it ShellHacks Patents Magic Show Demo. And the base URL we have to provide. So I'm going to give the same URL here. Now, this API does not need any authentication, so we need not configure any. So we'll start with simple thing. And once done, now we can start creating data endpoints to talk to those APIs. So let's say get patents, that's the name I would like to give it. And if we go back to this page, the API specification tells me that I can do a query like this, and it takes a bunch of query parameters. So I'm going to use this patents query and come back and then put it here, because this is the base get call. And now we can start adding some query parameters. So if I go back here, I see there is this queue here, and then we also have F number of fields, or the type of fields which we want to see what the API would return, and the format, and also a bunch of other options. So let's start putting this query parameters. And for the interest of time, I'm going to paste something which I have already put in my text notes here. And let's add a bunch of others, and I'll go over these, what I'm doing here. And all right. So my query parameters are saying that I'm interested to, let's say, see all the patents from 2020-0401, and those assigned to Citrix systems. And the fields I'm interested in are patent number, date, title, assignee, and other, a bunch of other information. And so having configured my API endpoint here, I can now test it with parameters. So let's execute this request. Okay, I'm seeing some error here. Let's try to fix that. Something wrong has happened on the O parameter here. Okay, let's try now. All right, so we can see here the GET request is successful, and this is what it returns in the JSON format. And it has information about applications, patents, title, abstract, assignee information, and lot of those records. So this all looks good. Now let's generate tables. So from this JSON result, we are going to generate tables, which will set the schema for the data cache. So let's generate these, and we can see here, based on the structure of the JSON, it has created these different tables. Now this one is showing me a red sign, so let's quickly go and try to edit. It's asking for a primary key. For now, I'll just make it happy with this, and then add that. So we have configured this data endpoint now, and let's start making that micro app using the micro app builder. So I'm going to go back here and create a micro app. Let's rename this, going to properties, and let's say pattern micro app. I can select an icon if I want. There are ready-made icons if I want to use. So let's go for something like this for now, but you can give any other and save that. And you can see here now, for this micro app, I can create notification or page and a bunch of other things I can configure. Let's start with creating a page. So on the page, I want to see detail about, uh, uh, let's give the name of that page. I want to see detail about a patent. So I want to start with viewing details of an individual record. And I'm going to take that data from the patents table, which was generated, and I'm going to select these fields. We had patent date, number, title, and uh, oh, let's select again date, number, title. Okay, and add that. And now what we see is this micro app builder page where we can drag and drop if we want any of these fields, input fields or display fields. You can see a lot of options here. Let's start with very simple. So this is what our page looks like right now. This is not showing any information. And the reason for that is because we have not synced the data to the data cache. So we can see here, we have not done anything. So I'm going to do a synchronization, and I'm going to start this full synchronization, which is going to execute that same GET API. And there are options to configure what should be the interval of the synchronization. So based on your needs, uh, this can be configured. So this has finished. So let's stop this and then go back to the page and see the data again. So now we see that it has pulled in some data from that, right? And since this is showing only one record, it is showing me this page. Now this looks very, very simple. So what I want to do is I want to create another button, and I dragged and dropped this, and I want to go to the actual detail of this patent, on the USPTO website. So this is the label of my button, and on click of this, I want something to happen, and that's where I can configure actions property. So I'm going to go to a URL, and I can specify a URL here. So I'm going to again copy paste this URL. And if we see this URL, this has standard stuff, but something interesting here is there, which is this curly brace patent number. So what is this? So actually, this is the variable which is coming from the table. So I'm going to delete that just to show you that when I do insert variable at this cursor position, I get to form the URL for this, and I can insert any field from any of the tables here. So I'm going to select patent number, uh, and it has inserted that back, right? So based on the URL which you want to browse to, this URL can be dynamically configured, uh, right? So this URL is set up now, and I can now preview the page. So right now it is showing me a desktop view. I want to see the mobile view. I can do that right away. So this is how it will look on a mobile phone. It's a good way to test it out. And I can even do, I think, preview page, which is going to launch this just to show me how it looks like. So this is how this card will appear. And if I click this, it is actually going to browse to the actual site. And we can see here that it has browsed to that and it is working. So all configuration looks great. So let's close this and come back. So I have done this, and I'm going to create another page now. So let's go back, and this time I want to create a page which can list multiple of those patents. So patent list, and this time I'm going to choose the table format. So this template lets me again select the table and bunch of those fields. So title, number, date, set those fields, add those, and we can see here it is showing me a tabular view. Now this thing is not viewing correctly, so I'm going to fix this. So let's go to columns property here, and since this is a date, I will change the date to date and time. So now we can see here that it is working fine, and I can also rearrange the order of these. Okay, all good here. And what I would like is on this table view, I want if someone clicks, then it takes me to the actual patent details page. So again, we are going to enable an action on this, and the action will be to go to view patent detail page. And now you see, as soon as I did that, it has this new view details link. So all set up here, fine. Uh, and again, I can quickly check the view. So let's get back. So we have created two micro apps, one showing a specific patent detail, another one showing a list of different details. Let's add another thing. I want to show you the power of Citrix micro app. Uh, so patent list. I want to actually, because there are a lot of these patents, around 25 pages. So I'm gonna drag another field here, and I want to be able to search for something specific. So let's label this field as search, and then based on what I type in here, I want to only view those patents. So we're gonna link this tabular view by setting this filter. So let's go to the filter, and we can add a condition that from the same table, if the patent title contains anything which I have specified in the search text input, then it should automatically filter that. So let's save that, and it's done. And let's quickly try it out. So productivity. So if I do that, you can see here, it quickly filter that out. This is how simple it is. And if I do IoT, yeah, it'll list a bunch of those in IoT. If I do cloud, uh, you can get cloud. If I do security, so you can see here, because Citrix does a lot of innovation and it has a lot of services and solutions, and we work on a lot of emerging technologies. Uh, we have basically patents in a lot of these areas. All right, so this seems fine. Now I want to subscribe users to these micro apps. So I'm going to set up my subscriptions, for which I'm going to select the users here. So let me select this. So I have subscribed this application to this user. And another thing I'm going to do is I want this micro app to be available as an action. And I'll mention what this action means. So let's save this. And while this was the admin side of how we configure and create micro app, let's now try to log in as this user. Okay, I think it's still showing. Okay, yeah, here we go. So these are the actions, and because we subscribe this user to only one action right now, so I'm going to launch this. So we can see here the same UI which we created using a micro app builder that is available here. So any user can now quickly get information or act on it without having to go to the actual web app. So again, here this should work seamlessly, right? So this is awesome. And if I click view details, it brings that details page which we created, and this button functionality also works. So this is how simple it is to actually create micro apps. Within few minutes, we have created this, right? Uh, and let's jump on to our next use case, next magic show, which is minting time. So Geico can save you 15 minutes, 15% in 15 minutes, right? Uh, I'm not a Geico salesperson, but I can definitely tell you that Citrix Workspace can save you more than 90%, right, by making you productive with these micro apps. So let's do one thing. Related to time, I'm going to select this weather API. This is another web app. Now, many times when the weather alerts are there, I want to act based on that. I want to maybe choose a different time or route, or I may want to just get notified and do something, let's say setting up the temperature at my home based on the weather alert and things like that, right? So here we are going to talk to this web app, create a HTTP integration and call this API so as to get information. So another one here. And just to speed up things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uh, refer to the integration I have already created, but I'll quickly walk through what it needs to create this. So on the weather API integration, the very first thing which we do is uh, specify the base URL. So if we see here, my base URL is uh, app api.weatherapi.com. So that's what we are doing here. And this one requires API keys. So I have generated that and I've configured that here, right? And now we can look at the pages. So in the weather micro app page, I have created few of these. I'm going to go over one of these, which again is very simple. Uh, so this one here is giving the tabular view, which we just created. And again, here, if you see, it's basically getting uh, data from this alerts table. Uh, and we can specify which fields do we want to be shown. We can delete any of those and configure this UI. And if I want some actions, I can do any action as well. For now, we'll keep it simple. And let's go back. I just want to show you uh, the endpoint as well, data endpoint. So if you look at the data endpoint, I have this forecast URL. And if you look at this, this is taking bunch of query parameters, Q, AQI alerts, and all of this is available in the API specification, right here. And that's what I have configured here. And then same way, when we tested and generate those tables, it created all these tables based on that. So let me go back and now quickly enable this Microapp to start appearing in my workspace. And I'm going to select the page which I want to be shown. So I've configured that, saved here. Let's quickly check the subscriptions. So on this Microapp, I have already subscribed to the same user. Okay, and let's refresh this out now. All right, so we can see here that same Microapp is available now, and any user who has been subscribed to this can get alerts, see all the information related to weather APIs. Let's jump on to our next one, which is turning copper into gold. Uh, so who can turn copper into gold? Alchemist, of course. What if I say that you all can be an alchemist? Now, if you are wondering that, having this superpower can make you rich and you can get a lot of gold and buy gifts for your loved ones, yes, you can do all that. Citrix Micro app will let you do that because it will make you richer by saving time. And isn't time the most valuable thing on this earth? Yes, it is. So that's what we are going to see here, that how using Citrix Micro App you can actually become rich, save time. And for this use case, I'm going to take a very different example here. So I'm interested to get news feed from, let's say, BBC News. Now, this one is a legacy app. I could not find any APIs for that. And I wanted to take this example to show that how we can innovate and create a completely different set of integrations. As long as we have HTTP and JSON, the interfaces, we can talk to anything in the world. So for this one, there is no API. So what should I do? So one of my old hackathon projects, I actually created an HTTP endpoint for any web app, and that basically generated a serverless Azure function. So what you see on my screen is basically my Azure serverless functions, and I created a bunch of these, and I did not configure anything by hand. This was all automatically done. So let's look at one of these function. What does it do? So if you look at this auto-generated code, then it basically is calling the same URL for the BBC News, and then it is doing some magic of looking at what the news items are, and in the end, it basically returns a JSON response. So it's as simple as that. And if we do a test run of this, we can see that this code works. So it's connecting, and then on the right hand side, we see that it has returned this JSON output. So this is what I need. And now for this Azure serverless function, we can get a URL, and this URL is the HTTP endpoint which we are going to call. So we have the endpoint, and I'm going to go back to my integrations, and here uh, I have already created this serverless function integration, and let's have a quick look at my base URL, which is the URL coming from uh, here, Microapp adapter Azure websites, and uh, and let's look at data endpoint. So data endpoint, I have this, and it takes some code, and it has already created a table for me. The same way we use for previous micro apps. So all that is done. And now we can also look at the page. So VVC news page, I created two of these pages. One is just like the patent one. I created a news detail, which has just the title and link and that button. And that button here is going to a URL. So now notice here that because this field is coming directly from this data here, so it is inserted right away using insert variable from the table. Uh, so all this is set up, and you can look at all news, which is again the same tabular format with that view details link. So all set up here. And let's quickly enable this as an action and save. And let's check out the subscription. I believe I have already done that. So yes, it's all set up. And let's refresh again. All right, so we have the action appearing here, and I'm going to trigger that. And we can see here all the news being shown, and I can now uh, go to news detail for that, and it opens up the right news for me. So just like patent micro app, if I want to create any way to filter the news, let's say I'm interested on any specific topic, I can add that search functionality which we saw right here to make things easier. So let's jump on to the next one, which is the teleporting magic. Uh, so teleporting magic is basically teleporting someone to a meeting. Now, if I had this power to teleport myself, I would not be doing this session right here. And probably if you had this power, you would not be sitting here, right? Uh, but when we are working, many times we are interested that if someone is discussing a topic of our interest, in a meeting, we want to join that conversation, right? And especially when we are working remotely or attending schools remotely, and there are discussions happening, meetings happening where we want to join, then this is a very powerful feature to join those meetings. So let me show you the demo first, and then we'll go into the technical parts of it. So I'm going to launch this another web app, group room IO, and this has various rooms for meetings. And you can see here that it's logging me in, and I'm going to select my camera and stuff. All right. So alone, I cannot do much. So let me say, I wish Rocket Sync can join me. All right. So I just launched this developer console just to make sure that I had my trigger sent back. And what this should have done is basically triggered the intent that uh, there was a wish to invite someone or some topic being discussed which someone would like to join here. So as I was speaking, that speech to text conversion was processed, analyzed, and a notification was sent back to Citrix Workspace platform. And there it is processed to see which user is interested on that topic. And then he gets a notification. So let's go back to, okay. So we can see here that, as I went back to home here, there is already a notification that someone discussed about Rocket Sync in a meeting, and now I can quickly join that, and I will be teleported to the same meeting where this topic was being discussed, and I had to do nothing, right? It's awesome. I'm able to clone myself here. That's great. Uh, Let me close that. So how this is happening, let's go into the technical bits, how I hack this for this demo. So I have an extension which is basically uh, processing the text, the speech to text. And let me show you a little bit of that. Yeah, so this is my extension code where I'm doing that processing, and then I'm posting it back to a URL. This URL is the Citrix Workspace backend webhook callback, and I'm passing certain data here, room link, and other things which I may be interested in, a set of information uh, to create that meaningful notification, right? So like room link, which a user should be able to join, that's all captured here. Now this callback is configured in the backend. So how did I create this callback? So if I go to my integrations and look at this hybrid workspace, then there is this configuration called webhook listeners, where I can create a number of webhook callbacks. And the call which you saw in the extension, that's one of these callback. And this callback will receive that JSON payload. And then from that JSON payload, we created a table, one of these tables, and then we created a notification. So let's look into notification part. And for that, I'm going to go to maybe one of this one. And if I look at this one here, so this is my notification name, and this is the UI notification which we saw. And here, if you see the body of this, actually, I'm using the same variables which are coming as part of that JSON payload, as part of that webhook callback. Uh, and that's how it is dynamically creating this message. And also this URL, the image, one can create any fancy notification or a page using these images. And also this has this join button, and this join button is basically going to go to URL, and that URL will be the same the URL which we saw here, which is this one here, and that is configured on one of my pages. So join wish page, uh, like this one. Let's see if I have configured an action here. Yeah. So you see here that there is a room link which we receive in the webhook callback, and that is what is being used to trigger that action. Another thing I want to show you is uh, so far we have only seen get endpoints, and we also saw the webhook endpoints. one can also do a post uh, call as well, and which is useful. Let's say you want to update certain information, let's say your profile information, or you want to submit your assignments at school. And what if, imagine that that is available as a micro app and notification that your assignment is due in couple of days, and you go there and upload your assignment right there without having to go through your complex web SaaS app and carrying out number of those steps. So this keyword notification micro app is basically, let me see, did I choose the right one here? Yeah, I think so. No, I think this is a different one. Let's go back. Okay, yeah, you're seeing the notification one. I want to show you this subscribe keywords. So like I want to be notified of only certain topics, like if clone, hackathon, innovation, rocket, and other things are being discussed in that room, and subscribe to that, right? So this means that I should be able to post my preference to the web app, and it should be able to save that then. So if you see the subscribe action here, this is running a service action. It is not doing any URL action, go to URL action. It is specifically running a service action, and it is passing a bunch of input fields here, from here. Sorry. You can see here that we have linked that the data which will be passed to this service endpoint is coming from this component value, whatever we specified in the keywords input box here. And so this is going to call a service action, and the service action is configured for this integration right here. So here I have created this service action, and this service action is taking the same keyword parameter, and it's a post call, and this web API web app exposes this endpoint where I can do a post, and then I can send this keyword data as part of a body here, right? So based on the API specification, what that post call requires, it can do body, and also send additional header and other parameters as required. So this is how this is glued end to end to create this. So let's jump back, and I think this was it. We saw 4 micro app magic shows, and this is how we can quickly create micro apps with no code at all in just a few minutes. So thank you all for your time, and if anyone has any questions, inputs, wants to connect, uh, we'll be very glad and happy to do so. I think we have few more minutes. Let me see if there are any questions in the Slack chat. Let's see. Okay, seems I don't see any. One second. Let me stop sharing and look at the chat for any questions. I'm skimming through all these. So I see a question from Kate, so can anyone who has access to Citrix Workspace create a micro app? Uh, yes, once you have entitlement enabled, you can create any micro app. So if you are keen to create micro apps for your use cases, reach out to any one of us from Citrix, and we'll be happy to connect you with the right folks. Let's see. Okay, I see. Okay, let me see. Is there any books explaining this? I didn't get it all. I'm not sure which part you did not get, but if you wanna speak up or share details, happy to answer that specifically. But there's a lot of documentation on micro apps. There are a lot of guides uh, to help you create a micro app quickly. And you saw that once we know how to create one, it is very simple to create multiple of those and then integrate those all together. Uh, so yeah, I'm sure you can easily get a lot of information. Uh, Next one I see, I have a code screen at Citrix soon. Would you be willing to share any advice with me? I'm not sure about that right now. Maybe I can think of some micro app for that that can answer this. Okay, next one is from Andy. Andy is asking, can we connect Citrix micro apps to other services to create a pretty GUI like Figma or other visual apps? I mean, as long as HTTP, JSON, if you speak these two things or make it talk those two things, we can do anything, right? You saw even if apps don't talk the same constructs, we can definitely make that happen. Okay, I see Laura sharing further details on the question. Is there a resource book specifically explaining Citrix? Because I got some of it, but it was too fast for me. Uh, I would encourage you to talk to any one of us. We'll be happy to give you more details on what Citrix does, and then we can take it from there. Yeah, I would encourage anyone who wants to know more, connect with us. And I have shown only a glimpse of what we do. As you saw, a lot of those patents and a lot of technologies we work on, a lot of services we have. Uh, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of great stuff happening here. Any more questions from anyone? Okay, how can I connect with you guys? I think we have contacts shared from Citrix somewhere in Discord. You can connect there or ask the admin. Yeah, we'll be happy to connect with you anyways. I see another one. Are you and your team available to speak in the Discord for ShellHacks or another server or another server? Uh, yes, we have, I think, Citrix channel there. If you are working on any of the hackathons projects, I think Citrix has sponsored one productivity app challenge. So if you want to, reach out to us on Discord, yeah, happy to connect with you there as well. Yeah, I think we have gone short of questions here, but still there are 7 minutes. So I'm here for another 7 minutes if you want, or if you want to connect through other means, reach out. What if you want to connect after ShellHacks? Yes, definitely. You can connect with us, Laura. I have shared my Twitter handle as well. Let me bring that back again. If you want to connect via that, that's fine. Uh, Let me do that. Yeah, so if you can see my screen, then this is my LinkedIn and Twitter handle. So feel free to connect. Will the Discord still work? I'm not sure after the event if it would work, uh, but I mean, we can connect now during the ShellHacks event, or uh, otherwise, from my Twitter or LinkedIn handle. And we also have, I think, some sessions. Uh, you can connect with other folks. Uh, there are a lot of other folks who will be happy to help you. Are there any internships being offered? I believe so. There should be. I think there's a lot of opportunities at Citrix. I'll be surprised if there are not. There should be. Uh, Link to find internships. Let me let me check on that and get back to you. I don't have it right now available with me, but if you go to citrix.com, careers or jobs link there, I think you should be able to find it there. But if you don't find, reach out, and we'll be happy to share more details. You're welcome. I hope I didn't miss anyone's question. That's But if I did, uh, feel free to connect. What was the Citrix challenge? So Citrix Hackathon challenge was to create a productivity boosting app. Let me see if I can find the link. Let me stop this. I don't have the link right now, but yeah, that was a challenge to create a productivity boosting app where you improve the productivity for whatever use case. It could be for a team, it could be for an organization where you can do things quickly, save time, and be productive. I think still there is time for the submissions. I can't wait to look at all the amazing hackathon projects you do. Can we use Citrix to create the app? Uh, I think you can if you are able to. Not sure. I mean, if you had known Microapp, maybe you could have used that. But I think time will be short now to use that. How do you download Citrix? So, I mean, if you saw, I did not had to download anything. I was doing everything in the browser, so that's good enough to start on using Citrix micro apps. But yeah, we do have products where uh, apps can be downloaded as well for different needs, different use cases. I'll not go into details right here, but happy to share more details. All right, I think we are just about the time. So again, thank you all for the opportunity and hope this was helpful and you enjoyed the magic show. Uh, have fun at the ShellHacks event. Thank you.